Sports Director Josh Whitman has the night off. I'm John Surratt, and the Bluefield Ridge Runners look to take the top spot in the Appy League East tonight if they were to take a doubleheader sweep against the Danville Otterbots. Let's check out the highlights from both games. As we'll start with game one, and this was a pitching duel from the start, and the Ridge Runners had their ace on the mound. Blake Gillespie gets a strikeout, ending the top of the second, but to the top of the fourth, things started to get away from Gillespie. First pitch, Alex Conover takes it deep to left field for a lead-off double. Where a little later in the inning, Conover on third now with Micah Dean up, and he singles to the gap in right. Conover scores. That's Gillespie's first earned run of the year, and it's 1-0 Danville. And well, that's all the runs the Otterbots would need. Pitching would only allow 2 hits throughout the game. Otterbots pitching would show up in the clutch as well. Jaden Brown on second, but Kyle Phelan gets a strikeout, ending the game. Bluefield falls in game one, 1-0. Now to game two, and there'll be a little bit more offense this time around. This second inning, Sam Silas on second when Aaron Jamison lines one to the corner and right. It'll land for an RBI single, but the Ridge Runners have their first run of the day and are on the board with the lead. To the top of the third, Otterbots threatening one-out runner on third, but Addison Smith grounds to the double play. Bluefield escapes with no damage. We go to the bottom of the inning. Armani Guzman on second when Alexander Wright skies one. High in deep. It'll go all the way to the left field wall, easily scoring Guzman, and it's 2-0 Bluefield. As the Ridge Runners had the early goose egg to the Otterbots due to West Virginia Tech's Wyatt Sisk on the mound. He gets the K to end the fourth. He's hyped. He went a fourth and a third without a hit, but after he was pulled, Danville will get on the board. Bases loaded. When the pitch gets away, Jackson Tyler scores, makes it 2-1 game, but that'd be the final run. Bluefield takes the doubleheader split, winning game two 2-1, staying 1.5 games back of Danville for the Appy League East lead. Now